Pirates of Maracaibo, our review. Fanny Rob over here, Evil Jeff over there. All right, now we have played this game several times. We did a first impressions video, and I will put a link to that up here so you can see what we first thought of the game. And now that we're seasoned veterans of it, of the high seas, has anything changed for you? I mean, we were favorable after one play. I thought it was a potentially a great game. And the first playthrough, we really had a good time. Now, several playthroughs after that, wins and losses, back and forth.
Right.
I still think it's really good. I think it might be my game of the year so far in 2024 when we're shooting this here at the end of the year. The first thing I like about it is thematically, it feels like you're doing pirate type things. You're visiting locations, you're looking for treasure, you're doing raiding, or as Jeff likes to call it, swashbuckling. And so you get to roll some dice, but it's not crazy. Luck is barely a factor when it comes to that. And you can mitigate it by improving your engine, which is another thing I like about the game. What I also like is that you have this board over here where you get to move. So you have different fronts. It's this map, that map, and then your own shipboard here that you're building things up. And I like the way that it causes you to have to juggle those things. And then overlaying all of that with an engine building game, it can go on forever. For instance, we love Ark Nova, but playing it in real life is just unbearable for me because it takes 3 or 4 hours to play that game. Now on Board Game Arena, I can, take my time and it's not an issue, but in real life, that game, while it's great, just takes too long for me to want to get it to the table. And there are other games that are like that. Even a game like Eclipse, which has that sort of engine building to it and has this great space epic feel, and we love that game.
Yes.
Takes a long time to play. And I guess if you played it 50, 60 times, really the issue is how many times in a row do you play it?
Yeah, the more you play a game, the quicker it goes, obviously.
Right, but also you can't just play it and then 3 months later play it again. You're going to have to relook at the rules.
Yes.
Like this game has taken us an hour and a half, right? It's an hour and a half game, solid. That's not an exaggeration. That wasn't with us rushing and trying to hurry things up, and not AP and that sort of stuff. In an hour and 30 minutes, you can get the experience of being a pirate and also doing a lot of board game mechanic things like engine building, exploring, because it has a 4X feel to it as well in that sense. The only thing that you really don't do in this game is attack each other. And I'm fine with that. There's enough going on here that I don't need to attack you. You're attacking me with points and engine. And I can look over there and see, oh man, his ship, he's got way more ship upgrades than I do. But what I do like about this, the overlay, is that I can end this game, if I choose to, by hurrying across the board or speeding it up at opportune times so that my opponent, because the way it works is you go through this map 3 times. But once you get off the end there, you get to this spot and it triggers the end of the round. And so if someone's just taking their sweet time, you have to move at least 1 closer each move. So every turn, I mean, the max you're going to have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 turns if everyone's just going as slow as they can, 8 or 9 turns. But I can tell you in our experience, that has not been the case. Because if you have a chance to stick it to the opponent and not let them get that 1 more turn, and then you're guaranteed to get 6 points here at the end. You get to upgrade your ship twice while the other person's doing stuff. It gives you the ability to cut off a long time engine builder from taking their sweet time. If everybody agrees that we're going to do it that way, you might have a game with 15, everyone gets 15 turns. But for instance, the last time we played the game, I hurried the game up because I was trying to cut off your engine, which was better than mine. And I just went with that strategy. Now I ended up losing, but at the same time, I felt like I had more control of what was going on. I didn't have to sit there and watch you build an engine for 4 hours, knowing that every round you were getting more points than me. I think that's a great element for this type of game. Because again, with the pirate thing, it gives you the chance to sort of stick it to the other players, but in a non-in-your-face way. So for a pirate game, for instance, when you play Merchants and Marauders, which is to this point has been my favorite all-time pirate game. I think this game actually challenges it for me now because of the sheer ease of setup. I mean, really, the hardest thing about setup is randomizing the initial deck, but after doing it a couple of times, it's really not a problem at all.
I mean, honestly, Merchants and Marauders is a great game, but it's much longer.
And it's more fiddly.
It's more fiddly. It takes more to set it up and to, just do all the accounting and stuff. And it's a great game, but
I love it.
You can't just break it out like this one.
Yeah, I feel like you can definitely break it out
to the table and play. I'm really just impressed with how smart some people are, and not just this designer and all, but when you look at Maracaibo, the original game.
Right. So that's Alex. You're talking about Alex Pfister, and in this game you have Ryan Hendrickson, Ralph Beinart. They also helped with the design here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I admire and am very impressed with people that can take the original game, Maracaibo, which is a great game.
And I've never played that one.
And I have played that, but boil it down to this and be as good or better than, ultimately, Maracaibo, the game, is a great game too. It's longer. It takes more to set up and get ready, and it's just a longer game. But this feels just like it to me. I mean, it is Maracaibo, but in a different form.
Mm-hmm.
And the speed at which this can play is what appeals to me. And I love the engine building capabilities, the ability to find points in all kinds of different ways. Last time we played it, I took a different approach and I lost, and I just wanted to try some different things. And it wasn't a good strategy. This time I took a little bit different approach than I'd have in the past as well. And it paid off. But that's what's so cool about it, is that you take what's dealt to you or what you have available and what your opponent's doing. You have to react to it, and then figure out how do I gain or maximize my points and efficiencies. And so it just has a lot of the engine driven items that I like to see in a game. Where you're trying to upgrade a ship to be more powerful or capable of doing things, and you're adding on to by buying cards, and you're getting more benefits and power that way, and there's just so many different ways to go after points. So to me, it's a fun game, but I like it a lot because it's quick.
Yeah, and I mean, like, again, an hour and a half to play a game with this much going on,
mm-hmm.
to me is it's the sweet spot. 30 more minutes might make it just a little bit less, but now I can see us playing this in a 2-hour game because
Sure.
we're taking our time.
Yeah.
And I will say, strategy wise, and we didn't explain to you, all the rules of the game. There's other videos out there that talk about how to play this game. There's good ones. It's that there's a balance between taking what's available now and trying to set yourself up for a future benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But the economy of it is very tight. It's a puzzle. Well, because if I do something now, I get no points. But if I do that thing early in the game and get residual income for it, then that might be good. But getting residual income starting in third time through the map is probably not going to be ideal.
Right.
And so, but then you're thinking, well, yeah, you had one card you almost went for in the last game we played where you could have spent 18 money minus some discounts and gotten 12 points. For me, that might have been the way to go, because I ended the game with a bunch of money because I was trying to speed it along, and maybe I should have stopped. I think the sweet spot here is you don't want to go too fast. You also don't want to go too slow.
Right.
But you got to read the room. If everybody's going slow, not a big deal. You just want to, if you can, eke out the 6 points at the end. Great.
Well, what was interesting is that I don't think there's ever been a game that you and I have played where on all 3 rounds, I've never made it to the end.
Yeah, that's true. Usually it's 2-1.
Yeah.
Because we've played this game, really, we've only played it at 2 players.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd want to play it with more than 2 players.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't know.
It plays up to 4.
Definitely not 4. Maybe 3 I would see doing, but 2 is fun. I like it a lot. But, I thought it was interesting, though, that I've never taken that approach before. And I was not going to be rushed into trying to go through to the end
Right.
if I had things I needed or wanted to do.
You basically have to get 18 points. If you don't make it to the end, you have to make up 18 points somehow, because that's the bonus.
That's how many points you got.
And then maybe an extra cube.
Yeah, a few extra things. Yeah,
but,
right. Which you probably got more than 18 ultimately with everything you did.
That's true.
Because I never even made it to Maracaibo.
Right, you didn't make it to the harbor.
Never once.
Yeah.
And still yet was able to somehow win. So I don't know, that strategy worked that time. It probably wouldn't work every time, but it did that time.
Well, if you knew, like, I'm assuming if the designers are watching, maybe they can comment about it, but I'm assuming having designed the game, you would know the exact mathematical probabilities or the better decision when given the perfect state of a board.
Right.
However, I think there's enough disguise for just the player here you get some sense of what's the better move, but it's not always that clear. It does a good job of making every decision a little bit uneasy, because you feel like you might have missed a better opportunity. Well, and you only get to go once past it, and then you got to go, well, maybe I could do that next time.
Yeah, well, a good example is the very last round. I had a choice to make, and I don't know if it ultimately was the right choice or not, but I mean, it did. I don't think it would have mattered now, but at the time I wasn't sure. I could go here or here, and I really needed them both.
Right, that's 16 points, but then you can bury some treasures here, which you needed for some of your objective cards.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm like,
well, that's great, but in another game, these 2 things might not be even on the board,
right? Or
not even, or next to the board, because I mean, this would have, again, you only get 4 residences, right? So you don't know.
So
and
it just so happened that was a very contentious point for me, because I'm like, gosh, I don't know, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to have to forgo that, and pick up this, which wasn't as ideal as that. But I really have to have that.
But isn't that why we play games? Isn't that one of the main reasons we play games, is to have that feeling you're talking about?
Yeah,
it's attention. Is this the right move? And what's the best thing I can do right now? Yeah. I mean, I think they've knocked it out of the park. The only thing that I highly recommend is if you can get the mat, because this does not come with the game, I would totally
almost a must.
Find it, because it just keeps everything more organized. This not on something that tells you where to put cards, to me, makes it less attractive to even pull out of the box. So, I mean, I feel like a board upgrade or something that someone could buy second market, or if they do a second edition of the game.
Yeah, I don't know why maybe just because of the way it packaged, I don't know, or costs perhaps, but it would have been nice to have it be on a board.
I like the map.
But the map
but
is
storing
even better.
It, you have to store it in a separate thing.
If you're going to publish a game, it just,
I think
it doesn't play well to just put these cards on a table, especially when you sleeve them, because they just spin around everywhere and they just don't stay in place.
But that's really my only complaint at all about the game. It plays 1-player solo, which I haven't tried that yet, but I've seen a few videos about it. It looks like a kind of game that would lend itself, at least to kind of just take your time and especially to learn the iconography. We didn't even talk about that. It makes a ton of sense. I know there was some printing or some sort of issue in the publishing. There's a few icons that should have been on some of the cards, or like the end spot here on your board should have been a green arrow. But we've been able to figure out everything. And the book does such a great job of laying out every single thing that you would see. It's really done well. And, the color coding, these are ongoing effects. These are end of game scoring effects. These are one-time effects when you get the thing. It just, it flows so well once you've played it a few times. It really becomes, to me, this is a game that if you called me up and said, hey man, I want to play a game, what are you thinking today? Even though we've got hundreds of games, if I felt like, going out and exploring on the high seas, we'd lay this thing down, boom, within 2 hours we're done.
Yeah.
What a great day of gaming that would be.
Yeah, well, and not only that, it saves your marriage because it's a quicker game, so you're not gone from home too long and then upsetting your wife.
Speaking of that, maybe
or
we
spouse.
should, yes, maybe in your case, we should go ahead and end this video now.
Finny Rob and Evil Jeff give it 2 thumbs up.
Thank you for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.